The email notification popped up on my screen at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that had already gone wrong in 12 different ways. My coffee had exploded in the microwave that morning, the subway broke down twice, and now my supposed best friend sat across from me in our cramped office, wearing the exact same blazer I'd bought for my interview next week. My interview, for the position at Hartwell and Associates. The one I'd been preparing for since January. "Cute blazer, Meredith," I said, minimizing the email without reading it. "Is it new?" She touched the lapel self-consciously, a gesture I recognized from 15 years of friendship as her tell for lying. I've had it forever. You've probably just never noticed." I had noticed. I'd noticed because I'd spent 3 hours last Saturday helping her pick out an outfit for her cousin's wedding, and that blazer hadn't been in the maybe pile, the definitely not pile, or anywhere in her closet. I'd noticed because it was the exact shade of navy, not midnight, not royal, but that perfect interview navy, as the one hanging in my closet with the tags still on. "Right," I said, turning back to my computer. The email notification blinked insistently. From Hartwell and Associates HR Department. My stomach dropped. Let me back up. Meredith Zhao and I had been inseparable since college orientation, when we'd bonded over being the only two people in our dorm who'd brought label makers for our food in the communal fridge. We'd survived organic chemistry together, celebrated when we both landed jobs at Preston Pharmaceuticals, and spent 5 years climbing the corporate ladder side by side. We shared everything. Lunch salads, Netflix passwords, career aspirations, secrets, especially secrets, like how Meredith had access to the executive database because she'd dated Kevin from IT, and he'd never revoked her permissions. Or how she'd taken credit for the Brennan project when really it was collaborative. 70% my work, 30% hers, but she'd presented it while I was out with the flu. Small indiscretions that seemed harmless when whispered over wine, when we were us against the corporate world. So when the Hartwell position opened up, senior project manager, double the salary, actual leadership opportunities, I'd told her everything. My preparation strategy, my portfolio choices, the mock interviews I'd scheduled, even my answers to those tricky behavioral questions. "You'll nail it," she'd said, refilling my wine glass. "They'd be idiots not to hire you." I clicked on the email. "Dear Ms. Winters, thank you for your interest in the senior project manager position. After careful consideration, we regret to inform you that we have decided to move forward with other candidates." The words blurred. I'd applied 3 weeks ago. They'd confirmed my interview for next Monday. How could they reject me before I'd even? "You okay, Sloan?" Meredith's voice cut through my spiral. "You look pale." I glanced up. She was leaning back in her chair, a strange expression on her face. Not quite guilt. Not quite triumph. Something in between. "Fine," I managed. Did you hear anything about Hartwell canceling interviews? Budget cuts or anything?" She shrugged, but her fingers drummed against her desk, another tell. "Not that I know of." "Why?" I showed her the email. Watched her face carefully as she read it. "Oh, Sloan, that's terrible." The sympathy rang hollow. "I'm so sorry. But you know what? Their loss. You're too good for them anyway." That's when I knew. I kept my suspicions to myself through the rest of the workday, through our usual Tuesday post-work drinks. She insisted on buying guilt money. Through her chatter about her cousin's wedding and how stressful it was to find the perfect outfit. "Actually," I said, stirring my Manhattan slowly, "I might return my interview blazer. No point keeping it now." She choked on her martini. "Return it? But it's such a nice blazer. You could wear it for other things." "Maybe. Where did you get yours again?" "It really is similar to the one I bought." "Nordstrom," she said quickly. Too quickly. The blazer I'd bought was from a boutique downtown that didn't have any other locations. "Online." I smiled. "Cool. Maybe I'll check it out." That night, I did some checking of a different kind. Meredith's LinkedIn showed no unusual activity, but she'd been sloppy with her Instagram. A story from last Thursday, supposedly showing her work-from-home setup, had caught a glimpse of her calendar in the background. I screenshotted and zoomed. Hartwell interview, 2 p.m. Last Thursday. The day she'd called in sick with a migraine. The next morning, I arrived at work early. Very early. The kind of early where security gives you suspicious looks and the motion sensor lights have to warm up. I had a key to Meredith's desk. We'd exchanged them years ago for emergencies. This qualified. Her top drawer was organized chaos, but I found what I was looking for in a manila folder labeled Wedding Planning. Inside, printed copies of my resume, my cover letter, my carefully crafted responses to Hartwell's application questions. All with subtle changes, her name, her contact information, but my words. My achievements reframed as hers. The rage that flooded through me was pure and crystalline. Not hot anger, cold, calculating fury. I photographed everything, then carefully replaced the folder. Then I sat at my desk and composed an email. Dear Hartwell and Associates HR Department, I recently received a rejection for the Senior Project Manager position. I believe there may have been some confusion, as I had an interview scheduled for next Monday. I'm hoping to clarify this situation, as I remain extremely interested in the position. Additionally, I've become aware of some concerning information regarding another applicant that I feel ethically obligated to share. 2 hours later, Meredith breezed in, carrying her usual oat milk latte and wearing my blazer. My blazer, with the tiny pull in the lining I'd noticed in the store, but decided didn't matter because no one would see it. Morning, sunshine. She set a coffee on my desk, my usual order. Guilt coffee now. Thought you could use the caffeine boost after yesterday's disappointment. You're the best, I said, and meant it in ways she'd never understand. The best at betrayal. The best at 15 years of fake friendship. The best at thinking I was too naive to figure it out. My phone buzzed. Email from Hartwell. Ms. Winters, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We take matters of application fraud very seriously. Would you be available for a video call this afternoon to discuss? Good news, Meredith asked, noticing my expression. Just my mom, I lied smoothly. She's thinking of visiting next month. The video call with Harrison Hartwell himself and the head of HR was illuminating. They'd been impressed by my application, but something had seemed off during the interview. The candidate, Meredith, had stumbled over basic details about projects that should have been second nature. She'd been vague about technical specifications that were clearly outlined in the portfolio. We almost dismissed our concerns, Harrison admitted. She was very polished, very professional. But when we did some additional checking, the work samples didn't quite align with her current role. I shared my screenshots, the photographed documents, the truth about who had really led the Brennan project, who had developed the optimization protocol that had saved Preston Pharmaceuticals $2.3 million last year. I want to be clear, I said carefully. This isn't about revenge. This is about integrity. The person you interviewed misrepresented herself, and I have concerns about what that means for any organization that would hire her. Harrison's expression was unreadable. Ms. Winters, what are you doing next Monday at 2 p.m.? I spent the rest of the week in a strange limbo. Meredith grew increasingly nervous as days passed without word from Hartwell. She'd obviously expected an offer by now. Maybe they're just slow, she mused Thursday afternoon, fishing for reassurance. Big companies, lots of bureaucracy. Probably, I agreed. Though I heard they're usually pretty quick with decisions. Someone in my network interviewed there last year, said they heard back within 2 days. She paled. Your network? Yeah, LinkedIn connections, college alumni. This industry is smaller than people think. That night, she texted me 17 times. Casual questions about my evening plans, what I was watching on Netflix. Did I want to grab brunch on Saturday? The desperation was palpable through the screen. I responded normally. Let her sweat. Monday's interview was a formality, but I treated it with the seriousness it deserved. I wore a different blazer, black, more expensive, better cut. I presented my real portfolio, answered their questions with the depth that comes from actually doing the work. One last thing, Harrison said as we wrapped up. We've had to make some difficult decisions recently regarding another candidate. Issues of integrity. How would you handle a situation where a colleague, maybe even a friend, acted unethically? I thought about 15 years of friendship, about shared secrets and wine nights and being each other's emergency contacts, about the moment she decided her ambition was worth more than my trust. I believe that integrity isn't situational, I said. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger or your best friend. Wrong is wrong. And in a leadership position, protecting the organization and team from someone who would compromise ethical standards isn't just important, it's essential. He smiled. When can you start? The call came while I was still in the Hartwell building. Meredith, hysterical. They called me, she sobbed. They said there were discrepancies in my application. They said they were considering legal action for fraud. Sloan, I don't understand. How did they find out? I stood in the marble lobby, watching professionals stride past in their interview navies and power blacks. Find out what? About the application. I may have borrowed some of your ideas. But everyone does it. Everyone embellishes. Embellishing is saying you're proficient in Excel when you're just competent, I said calmly. What you did was theft. Silence. Then, so quietly I almost missed it. You told them. They already knew something was off. I just confirmed their suspicions. I had to take it. The words exploded out of her. Do you know how hard it is to always be second place? To watch you get every opportunity, every accolade? You were going to leave me behind. So you decided to leave me behind first? I was going to help you find something else. After I got settled. I swear. I laughed, surprising myself with how genuine it sounded. Meredith, you wore my blazer. To my interview. Using my work. And you think you were going to help me. That blazer, how did you? There's a tiny pull in the lining. Left side near the back seam. I noticed it in the store but bought it anyway because it was perfect otherwise. Just like I noticed all your tells over 15 years. The finger drumming when you're nervous. The way you touch your clothes when you're lying. More silence. I got the job, I continued. Senior project manager. I start in 2 weeks. Congratulations. The word was ash in her mouth. I suppose you'll be telling everyone at Preston what I did. I thought about it. The temptation to destroy her completely, to salt the earth of her professional reputation. But that cold fury from finding those documents had crystallized into something else. Indifference. No, I said. What would be the point? You'll do it to yourself eventually. People who take shortcuts always do. Sloan. I hung up. Blocked her number. Removed her from my social media. 15 years of friendship. Deleted as efficiently as a spreadsheet row. 2 weeks later, I cleaned out my desk at Preston Pharmaceuticals. Meredith had called in sick every day since our last conversation, and rumor was she was job hunting. Without my work to showcase, with Hartwell's rejection hanging over her, she'd have a harder time. I found the emergency desk key she'd given me and left it in an envelope with HR. No note needed. My new office at Hartwell had floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city. The salary was even better than advertised, and Harrison had already mentioned fast-track potential for director positions. We value integrity here, he'd said during my first day. That's why we knew you were the right fit. Anyone can have skills. Not everyone has character. I thought about Meredith, probably updating her resume right now, trying to figure out how to explain the gaps in her stolen accomplishments. Then I stopped thinking about her at all. The best revenge, I learned, isn't just success. It's the knowledge that someone who betrayed you has to watch that success from the ruins of their own choices. It's moving forward while they're stuck explaining why they tried to steal something that was never theirs to take. My phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Meredith had viewed my updated profile with my new title. I smiled and archived the notification without clicking. Some connections, like some blazers, are better off returned.